Hello and welcome to another episode of MacStories Unwind. I'm John Voorhees, and I have Federico with me. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm doing really well. We've been thinking about AI chatbots a lot, and we talked about them on App Stories, which will be out on Monday and on Sunday for App Stories Plus folks. But I've also been thinking about Siri AI a lot, and I wanted to share with you a little bit of knowledge that Siri AI dropped on me. Actually, This wasn't. So I was in Boone, North Carolina over the weekend because whereas you head to the beach in the hot weather, I sometimes head to the mountains.
You're one of those people, huh?
I am. And Boone is one of the closest places where the temperature is actually less. So like over the weekend, it was in the 90s here. We went to Boone. It was like 20 degrees cooler, which was very nice. And we had a nice lunch. We strolled around, looked at the shops. I got myself a fancy App State t-shirt because I figured App Stories, I needed to have an app shirt. So I did that. It was a nice day trip, and then we came home. And I got to thinking though that, have you ever heard the American expression "out in the boonies"?
Absolutely not.
Okay, well, when you say that something is out in the boonies, it means it's in a remote place, usually in the mountains.
Boonies.
Yeah, out in the boonies. Okay, that is a real expression, a real figure of speech. And I was in Boone, North Carolina, and I thought to myself, I wonder if the etymology of this phrase has anything to do with Boone, North Carolina. And the answer is, it doesn't at all. A lot of people think it does. No, a lot of people think it does. But in reality, the boonies are related to a war that happened between the United States and the Philippines, which honestly, I didn't even know there was a war between the Philippines and the United States in 1899 to 1901, where the soldiers came back to the United States with a Philippine word that meant mountains that sounded like boonies or boondocks. And then boondocks was shortened to boonies. And so it has nothing to do with Boone, North Carolina. Boone, North Carolina was actually named after Daniel Boone, a famous explorer who explored the Blue Ridge Mountains in this part of the country. And it's not related at all to that town. So there you have it. That's your knowledge dropped on a Friday.
So what do you do in Boone when you go there?
Well, it's a college town. This was our first time there. We've been to some towns nearby. It's a college town, which means there's a lot of good places to eat, a lot of little shops, clothing shops, book shops, coffee shops. And we really just we got there right around lunchtime. We had a really good lunch. Then we strolled around and checked out the shops. And on the way out, we got a coffee, and that was about it. It started raining while we were there. One thing that happens a lot out in the Blue Ridge Mountains is that storms pop up pretty quickly in the afternoon because the hot air hits the mountains, shoots up, condenses, and drops rain. And so it rained a little bit, but not too much. And, we were home in time for dinner. So it was a pretty short trip, but it's only about an hour and a half away. It's not too long of a drive. Whereas for us to go to the beach, it's more like a 3.5 hour thing to go to the beach.
Yeah, that's a bit far away.
It is. It's not close. I mean, it's something you got to plan more. It's not something you could do it as a day trip if you left really early and got home late, but it's kind of a long day. So it's better as an overnight thing for us.
No. So we went to this place that we've never been for a couple of days this week called Gaeta. It's south of Rome, before Naples. It's at the very tail end of the region where Rome is located. The Lazio region, just before the next one, where Naples is located, called Campania. Right. And so it's like a 2.5 hour drive. The issue is that on our way there, Google Maps had us go through. So we did the highway for like an hour and a half, which was great, very simple. And then he had us exit the highway and do this inner mountain road that was absolutely horrible. And this is this is something that I hate about all Maps products. They don't consider. This is something that I've always wished for. They always prioritize time and cost for your trip. but
Yep.
they never give you an option of like, if you're willing to drive 20 minutes more, you're gonna get a much more comfortable trip with an easier road.
Yeah, it bothers me too. I mean, Apple Maps lets you turn off using highways, but it's kind of buried. And if you do it, then you forget to put it back on. And then the days when you're in a hurry,
I just wanted to stay on the highway for longer instead of having to
Yeah.
do this 45 minutes crossing through the mountains, doing all these twists
Up
and
and
turns,
down and twists,
up and
yeah.
down, very, very narrow
Yeah.
road. And I knew it was going to be tricky when we do like 15 minutes of this,
Yeah.
and we arrive at this sort of like really small house with a bunch of goats outside. I was like, what are we? Like, are we?
You're in the middle of nowhere at that
I'm
point.
in the middle of nowhere. There's like the goats here, and there's a church, like a monastery,
Yeah.
at the very top of a mountain. I was like, am I gonna get there? Or am I
Yeah.
gonna get stuck here with no cellular connection? And so on the
Yeah.
way back, I was like, I'm not gonna do that again.
Yeah.
And so we did a couple of things. We obviously asked the hotel staff, like, hey, is there a more
Is there a
comfortable,
better way to go?
is there a better way, even if we drive for 20
Yeah.
minutes more? And turns out, yes, we just needed to drive 20 minutes more to go further south and get another highway exit.
Sure.
And that made it a whole lot simpler. But I also asked Siri AI, and it was actually pretty great. I actually
good.
asked, hey, I took a screenshot of the default view. Actually, no, I didn't take a screenshot. I just opened Apple Maps, tried to do the default Gaeta to home, and Apple Maps, like Google, the default was go through the mountains.
Right.
While with Maps open, I swiped down on the dynamic island and I told Siri, is there a better way? I don't like this default route. I don't like this mountain road. It's very uncomfortable. It's very narrow. Is there a way for me, even if I drive 20, 30 minutes more further down south, is there another way to get to the highway, avoiding these mountain roads? And Siri was like, yes, actually. If you go further down, you drive 15 minutes more,
Yeah.
and you take the exit at Casino, and that's going to be more comfortable for you. Do you want me to open this route? And I clicked, and Apple Maps opened with the multi-stop thing.
Oh,
Because by default, Apple Maps would just do Gaeta to home, you go through the mountains.
sure. The most direct way.
Instead, Siri AI did like a multi-stop thing where it kind of forced the route to go
I
south,
see.
and then from there took the highway.
To home. Yeah.
It
Oh,
was
that's
really
good.
nicely done.
That's good. I remember early days of Apple Maps when I lived in Chicago. And at one point, it's like, oh, you need to get off the highway. There's an accident ahead. You need to go do this, to save some time. And it's basically taking us through the roughest part of Chicago,
Oh my God,
which was really terrifying.
More Maps products should really have this, like I call it like a quality filter. Like the
quality
idea-
of life drive.
Exactly. No, but like seriously, like
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. I save on mileage and I save on gas and I
Yeah.
save on time if I take this horrible godforsaken road.
It needs a vibes button, right? It's like
yes.
today
Yes.
Federico is stressed out and he's in a hurry and he just wants to get to the airport to pick up his friend.
Sure.
But this day he's on vacation. He just wants to take a nice
I'm
easy
in no
drive
rush.
to the beach.
I just want an easy drive, and that's exactly how the drive back was.
Yeah,
Like just
yeah.
basically all highway straight to home, and it was perfect.
Oh, that's
and
good.
so yeah. Anyway, I have a pick, John.
What's your pick?
Started watching the final season of The Bear.
Oh,
I actually like it. I think.
good. You didn't like the last season, did you?
Didn't like season 3. Didn't like season 4. I think it has some of the usual traits of recent seasons of The Bear.
Mm-hmm.
Some silent moments here and there. I call it the French movie vibe. No offense to the French, but like, you know what I mean.
I guess so, yes.
It's like artsy
Yeah, I know what you mean.
films. Like
Yeah.
it has some of those moments, but thank God they talk more and there's more action in this season. Like stuff actually
I remember you telling me you
happens.
fell asleep a lot in the last season because there was no talking, right?
No talking, just like I was like, am I watching a silent movie? Like what?
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. You may recall this, John, from
Yeah.
your time in Chicago. When it
Uh-huh.
rains in Chicago, it really rains,
Yeah,
right?
can't really rain. Yeah.
The entire season 5 of The Bear, seems, because we're not done yet, but seems to take place in just one day.
Oh,
This really rainy day when a storm hits Chicago and everything starts to go wrong at the restaurant, but a person from the Michelin guide is going there to eat and potentially consider giving the restaurant a star. On the day where the restaurant is flooded and the sink is broken and
Oh, wow.
and a part of the roof in the kitchen collapses,
oh, wow.
the Michelin guy is going there.
Wow.
So it's good. I think
It's
it's good.
intense. Yeah.
It gets intense. Finally,
Yeah.
what I appreciated from the first 2 seasons of The Bear.
Right.
And I will not say anything more, but we are cautiously liking it so far. Yes.
All right. All right. Well, my pick is kind of a fun fluff movie that's on Netflix right now, which might be good for you, given that you've been looking for things, which is Enola Holmes 3. I don't know if you've seen the other Enola Holmes movies. I think I had only seen one of them, but it's a trio of movies starring Millie Bobby Brown as the sister of Sherlock Holmes, and Sherlock Holmes is in it too. And it's one of those movies that does a lot of breaking the fourth wall, where they'll look into the camera and say stuff from times to time, and it's very fast paced. This one starts in Malta, where Enola Holmes is about to get married to Lord Tewkesbury, and she's on her way to her wedding when someone starts chasing her on a horse, and she thinks she's going to be captured. Turns out it's just Watson wearing a mask. But it turns out that her brother Sherlock was kidnapped, and so it throws her into a mystery of trying to solve what happened to him. Looking at his room, figuring out what the mystery is and where he is and what's going on. And it just kind of spirals from that. And, it was a great kind of weekend watch on Netflix. It wasn't anything terribly serious or highbrow, but it was enjoyable. So
Nice.
recommend Enola Holmes 3.
All right.
Well, Federico, I think that's another one for the books. We learned about the Boonies. We learned about
The mountain roads.
the
that I don't like.
mountain roads with goats in them in
Yep.
Italy.
They had a
we got-
really long beard, which I appreciated, actually. They were really cute goats.
okay, well that's good. I like a cute goat, especially like a baby goat. They're called.
No, they were
called
big. They were
kids.
big goats.
These were big goats. All right.
Big goats with a long beard. Yes.
All right. All right. Well, everybody, that's it for today. You can check out what we're up to over at MacStories.net, and the two of us are on social media. Just look for Federico. He's at Viticci. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHWS. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.